Greetings, scholars. This video is intended to teach you, work with you, share with you information concerning the informative speech. We have a lot of information to cover, so please listen attentively. Grab your notebooks, your folders, your binders, your writing material, your recordings, whatever it is that you can gather to assist you in taking down notes, because this is an important one. Today, we're going to be talking about the informative speech, which is a major assessment for the class. There are several assignments that you're going to be doing in relations to this informative speech. So I'm continuing to just chatter a little bit because I'm assuming that right now you're grabbing your materials. And I want to make sure that you have your materials in your hands as we begin our discussion. While you're still gathering your material, I am going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to go to our spotlight or agenda. So here's what we're going to be covering under the informative speech. We'll be going through a little lecture that I'll be talking to you, giving you basic information about the informative speech. We'll be talking about the topics, how to select your topics, where the topics are, why and how they are available. We'll look at the scratch outline and how to prepare the scratch outline for your speech. And we're also going to be looking at something called the speech outline design, which is a more detailed outline for you that you may use as a guide. And we will look at a sample informative speech. All right, there's a lot in store, as I said before. At this time, you should have all of your materials together. Now, here's something I want you to put in your notes right away on top. The next module that you'll be looking at is module number 10. Module number 10. The next module that I want you to go to would be module number 10. Module number 10 talks about the informative speech written part. There's also a module 14 that will be continuing the discussion and preparing you for the informative speech oral part. All right, as equally important, I want you to know that the next chapter that you're going to be reading in your open source text is chapter 12. Chapter 12. The very next chapter is chapter 12. So you're going to be skipping. I know you've already read chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're prepared for the midterm exam and so on. But now we're going to jump a little bit, and we are moving to chapter 12. Make sure you thoroughly read that chapter, because a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today is included in that chapter, and you can go back and review, get more details on it, etc., etc. So what chapter? Chapter number 12. Now, our modules may end up adjusting and changing a little bit, because remember, we're working through a tentative assignments and due date sheet with tentative modules that may need to be adjusted just a pinch in order to satisfy what we need to satisfy throughout the semester. And because sometimes administration would have to make some changes in the schedules, I will then have to make some adjustments and changes in what is pre-planned for you. All right, so I'm assuming now that everybody has pen, pencil, material that you're going to need, your flash drive if you need it, and so on. You have your notebook, your folder, your binder. You have opened up your open source textbook called Exploring Public Speaking, and you have scrolled down to chapter number 12, and you're ready to follow along with me. Well, let's look at the rest of the spotlight before we start and see what else we're going to be talking about today. So once we complete our discussion of the informative speech, you will have a little quiz. Yeah, isn't that wonderful? That's to make sure that you stay attentive, that you're taking down those notes. You know exactly what is happening at every moment that it is happening, and you're ready to give that back to me in the form of a little quiz that you will complete, and you'll place that quiz in the Dropbox, the requested Dropbox. All right. So your Dropbox is going to be labeled uh, informative speech tutorial or tutorial for the informative speech. You'll see it when you get to your Dropbox. You'll place your quiz again in that Dropbox. We'll talk about it more when I give you an example, or pull it up actually, not an example, the actual quiz we'll pull up on the sheet when we get to that section. And then we're going to do a little bit more reviewing for the informative speech. I'm not sorry, not the informative speech, for the midterm exam, So, all right, let's get started. I'm going to remove the screen share so you can see a full blast me as I'm talking to you. Isn't that wonderful? All right, so now the informative speech. Exactly what is the informative speech? As we scroll along, and I'm going to be looking at my text, which I have on a screen there a little above. So if you see my eyes kind of going up like this, it's because I'm looking at that particular screen, or if I move to the side or so on. And you can kind of follow my guide too in knowing what to do when you are presenting to a mass audience, or when you are talking to your classmates or persons individually, how you kind of use your eyes and your body and your voice, vocal expressions, and etc. So now the text says that an informative speech is a speech based entirely and exclusively on facts, okay, and whose main purpose is to inform rather than persuade, rather than amuse, rather than inspire. So you're not trying to persuade somebody. You're not trying to inspire them to do anything. You're basically educating them on a particular topic, providing information to your audience on this particular topic. So think about that when you start selecting your topic for the informative speech. You're providing information, educating, enlightening them about your topic. Now, the next thing that you see in that vocabulary list is the word refutable. If you're doing an informative speech, that's the statement, the thesis statement, your claim cannot be argued because it's based upon facts, not theory, not on something that you think, an opinion of that nature, but based upon facts. Speaking of opinion, that's the next thing that you see, right? Now, the author says opinion, a personal view, attitude, or belief about something, and that your speech, this informative speech, is not based upon opinion. But guess what? You have to have an opinion of your topic before you can start researching it and looking at what you want to do, or how you want to shape and mold that topic. But that's the bulk pretty much of where your opinion comes in. So your opinion is, now what do I want to talk about? How do I want to organize this thing? What do I want to say? I think maybe I will discuss such and such because whatever your reason is. Now that you've done that, put your opinions aside, because again, this one is not based on what you think. I think that abortion should be legalized. So that's not what we're going to talk about today. We're not trying to persuade somebody or to give them our ideas and our opinions, but we're trying to provide them with factual material. All right, now there are several types of informative speeches. The first that the author mentions is history. We can do a speech on history. However, in our class, we're not doing that particular type, okay? So I'm not going to talk a lot about those that we are not doing in class. So we're not doing a speech based on history. If you're doing a speech on history, you might have objects or places or ideas, all of that included in there. You might have a biography, might be doing something or recording something on a documentary or something of that nature as well. All right. The next type of speech Well, the author says biography, but that's also listed under history. But the third type is process. So you might be doing a process in this class. Okay. Example of a process speech would be on how to type topics, like how to how do you do build an engine of a car, how to build an engine of a car, or how to bake chocolate cookies, or how to create a wig or something of that nature. Those would be processes, that type of speech. um, as we continue, it says ideas and concepts is a type of speech. We have categories or divisions type of speech, and you will probably be doing your speech based upon categories or divisions or parts of something as well. I mean, you could possibly, not probably, but it's possible. Okay, then you have of course, you have your topical type speeches that we talked about based upon topics. You're writing, doing a process and so forth. You have your cause and effect, different things of that nature. You have, let's see, remember I gave you an example of a cause and effect type. We looked at a topical type and so on. We'll look at that again later. All right, so we're going to continue looking at the guidelines for selecting a speech topic. So the next thing on my list was topics for the informative speech. If you recall, or if not, I'm about to share it with you. I gave you some informative speech topics in your course resources. So here are the informative speech topics that are inside your informative speech, your course resources. I have provided you with a whole bunch. Here it says like 95, but some of these topics have 2 and 3 topics combined where you can pull any one from it. Environmental issues, for example, you can talk about mudslides or tsunamis or earthquakes or anything of that nature. So we have well over 100 topics that you can select from. In addition to being included in the learning modules, you can also find these topics in your resources, your course resource. So now when you are trying to select a topic, you want to select a topic that you are interested in, but that you believe also that your audience would be interested in. Okay, don't just choose a topic because you have to do a speech. The teacher told me to do a speech. First thing I see is this. And don't just choose those topics that you've been writing about since elementary school days. Okay, that's done. Think of something new and unique that your audience may not have heard of before, something you may not have heard of before, because remember, with these topics, you're going to have to do research. So select a topic that you heard somebody say something about, and I'm not knowing very much on that topic, so I want to know a little bit more. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to research it, and this is going to be my informative speech topic. So again, choose something that is interesting to you and that you believe might be interesting to others. So the author says avoid fake topics, okay? Here's the explanation that they gave for that. It says sometimes students think that because something sounds like an informative speech topic, it is one. But not always. Sometimes people create and make up things and throw them on the internet, or it's some kind of a political issue that people are dealing with and so on. And not really good topics for the informative speech. So again, if you don't want to choose one of the topics from the list that I have provided, you may choose your own topic, but you, of course, have to get that topic approved for me. So you've seen the list of topics that we've had, or you've thought about your topic. You know pretty much what you're going to do. The next thing that you need to do is prepare a scratch outline. Okay, you're keeping notes, right? Topic. From your topic, well, maybe let's go before topic. You're going to go to your text, read, find out what the informative speech is, what is the purpose of this speech, and so on. You'll then create yourself a topic. And from your topic now, you're going to do a scratch outline. So we're going to look at the sample of the scratch outline. Here is what the scratch outline looks like. It means just a little mini outline, just a little small briefing taste of what you're going to present to your audience, but it provides a lot of information that you'll find useful to you. So here is my topic. My topic, well, on the top of the sheet, you'll write scratch outline, or you can put scratch outline for the informative speech. It will be just like this when you're creating yours, okay? Then you want to write the word topic. So you don't want to just put your topic up here. This is a part of the outline. So your topic actually goes here, not up here. You'll put your topic with the colon behind it. Give your topic. Remember, it has to be informative, not an opinion, not trying to convince somebody of something. Specific purpose comes next. The specific purpose will begin with an infinitive phrase to, and it gives a little bit more information on what the item is or the idea is that you're going to talk about, but it's written in the form of a phrase. Let's remove that little period from behind there, because that's not a sentence, in the form of a phrase. So it'll be to inform the audience about, and whatever your topic is. Don't give more details in there. I see students continue talking. Whatever your topic is, that's what goes behind the about, okay? So if your topic is leukemia, to inform the audience about leukemia. Don't say to inform the audience about leukemia and how it can affect you and what it can do to you if you have it. Don't put all of that in there. It's a simple phrase that just gives us the purpose of your speech, what you're going to do. All right, now that you've created your topic specific purpose, you'll have to do your thesis. Now the thesis, you know, is the main idea of the speech. Your thesis should be a single sentence, one sentence. All right, single declarative sentence, making a statement. You should not have anything in the form of a question. If you find that you write something and it's a question mark at the end or it's a question, that's incorrect. You're also going to be giving me an implied thesis, which means you will not be naming the things that you're going to talk about inside your speech in that sentence. But you'll give a general sentence, declarative sentence statement that tells what the piece is about. Let's look at my thesis. Alzheimer's disease, also known as the silent killer of the elderly, is a major cause of death for the elderly over 85, okay? And you see, I didn't name things in here that I'm going to talk about, but I need to know those things, so I go to my points. What am I going to talk about in this speech? Your speech, put this in your notes, your speech will consist of the length of time between 3 to 5 minutes, unless you're in the honors class. And if you're in the honors class, your speech is going to be the length of between 5 to 8 minutes. So the honors class will be going this time between 5 to 8 minutes. If you're not in the honors section, your speech will be between 3 to 5 minutes. Now, all of this is less than what we generally would do if we're in the classroom setting. In the classroom setting, we have more opportunity for time and things of that nature, but virtually, because we may be listening to you virtually as you present this speech face-to-face virtually, it has to be condensed. So again, what will be the length of the speech when you speak it? Between 3 to 5 minutes if you're in the non-honors class, between 5 to 8 minutes if you're in the honors class. So that tells you then that you have to have enough information to satisfy the length of the speech. That's what you think about when you come up with your points. For me, because I'm doing a cause and effect type speech, and almost all diseases, illnesses, you can use this particular type with. I'm talking about the causes of Alzheimer's, the effects of Alzheimer's, and the treatment for Alzheimer's. So those will be the three things that I will talk about in my speech that I have to collect information on, develop well with examples and so forth. Now, how do I get the information from that? Especially If this is a new topic that I've never heard of before and somebody just gave it to me or I saw it on the list, well, you go and find some research on the topic. So there are a lot of different places you can go to find your research. You can go to a reliable source on the internet. So now when you go on the internet, remember the items that are placed there were taken from books or articles, magazines, journals, and so forth, and placed there. So you can look up the bibliography and you can find out whether that's a credible source. Don't just choose information that a student wrote or anybody like you or me, any layperson like us. You can tell that by looking at the references, the reference sheet, to see if it's a reliable source. If it's a reliable source, you can use information from the internet. Our library, remember when we were talking about the library sources and doing research in our chapters in the text? And we found that the library, our library, houses a whole lot of information. And if you can't find that information, they are contracted with other external sources that can assist you in finding the information that you need. So there is no excuse for not being able to find information on your topic if the topic exists. So definitely check out our library through journals, through peer reviews, through articles, newspaper articles, and so on, etc., books. Just it's unlimited almost, the sources or resources that you can use to find information to support your topic. You then have to write the biography of your sources. You are required to use at least 2 sources in helping you write this paper, 2 bit of information, 2 references you'll need. Once you have looked through it, read your material, got what you need to put together your speech, you're going to write the bibliography of your references. That will go on this scratch outline sheet. So here you begin with the scratch outline, the title. Then you're going to write the topic of your speech, your specific purpose, your thesis, your points, 1, 2, 3 points, and your works consulted. Or maybe I will put not works consulted, we'll put references. Let's put that. All right, so you have to have 2 references that you're going to be using. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm doing something here, messing up a little bit by clicking on something I didn't intend to click. I'm going to hold this onto the screen a moment so you'll be able to see it. Snap a little shot of it if you need to. Put it into your memory if you need to. All right, I want to put it all here so you can see it. This is what you will need when you complete that lesson in module number, let me see which module that is. Module number, is it 5? Module number 7. Module number 7, when you have to do the scratch outline and the topics. So here is your scratch outline sample with references. There. Now, so we've looked at the topics, we've looked at the scratch outline, and I'm about to show you something else really interesting that may help you that is already in your resources. Look what I have for you. We have something called the speech outline design. I'm going to share my screen as soon as I can locate it here and pull it up so that you can see it. Now, our speech that we're going to be writing will be created like what you see here with the lines. You can use this as a very good example. We're doing only that small scratch outline rather than a complete detailed outline where you have your main points and your sub points and your sub points and all of that. Because we used to do it at one time, but students got so confused and became a bit difficult to have them do that formal outline that you might see an example of in chapter 12, and also do the paper, the speech. So what we decided to do is another technique which combines the two. So in this case, you do not have to have a formal outline, the scratch outline, then the formal outline, and then the speech, but you'll need the scratch outline and the speech. But to help you with the speech, I'm showing you this. You do not take notes. You do not have to do anything on this and submit it to me. This is only to help you in putting together your final speech if you desire. This is a nice little template, a nice little guide that can help you because it will be organized just like this, as you will see in a little bit. You'll have, when you write your full paper, your topic, your specific purpose, your thesis. You'll have the word introduction, because remember, we're doing an outlined part along with the speech. Generally, in writing a speech, you don't write the word, you don't label introduction. But for the outline speech, you do. You'll have the word introduction. Then you're going to have your introduction. Everything that you see here, from attention getter, credibility material, thesis, preview statement, transition, all of these are part of the introduction. So here we have the attention getter. We start with something that will draw the audience into your speech immediately. Do you believe in ghosts? If you don't believe in ghosts, then something must be wrong with you. So questions would be a good way to start. Startling statements would be a good way to start. Telling a little history, a little story, anything that draws the attention to your speech is what you want to use as an attention getter. Then you want to make sure that your audience knows immediately that you did not get all of this information from yourself or based upon opinions, but you got it from a source. So you go to one of your sources, you pull a very important piece of information from that source, and you plug it in your introduction. You might have something like, according to John Doe, who is the author of The Great Tree, 99% of the people who have trees in their yard are healthy people. So you're giving the information, telling who said it, and where that information came from. That's what will go here. What you do not do is put something in there saying www.suchandsuch.com. Okay, because when you're speaking, you're not going to be speaking, you're giving the attention getter, and then you get to your credibility material and you say www. You have to have the information that you got from that www.something.com, not the URL address. Okay. All right. Then you get to your thesis, and this thesis is different from the thesis up here. This one, because we're doing a speech, is the announcement thesis of what you're going to talk about. And it's as simple as this. Today, I will talk to you about Alzheimer's disease, or whatever your topic is. That's it. But then you get to your preview statement and you'll say, I will first talk about the causes of Alzheimer's, then the effects, and finally the treatment. So you break those two apart, kind of break it up a little bit. Today, I will talk about Alzheimer's disease. I will first talk about its causes, then its effect, and finally the treatment for Alzheimer's. So the preview statement then is a statement that provides a preview of what you will see inside the speech. The preview statement provides a preview or a little snippet of what you're going to find in the paper. You know, like when you're watching a movie and they give you the little highlights and whatnot of the movie before you get into it. That's what the preview statement does. So those 3 points that you intend to discuss inside the paper, the preview statement will name them there. That's why you're not naming them in this thesis up here on top, because this thesis is an implied thesis. This thesis will not be the same as that. If you find that you're putting the same thesis here again, down here, you have done it incorrectly. This thesis, different from this thesis. This thesis, because we're doing a speech, is the announcement thesis that your writing teacher told you. That's not a speech, the thesis that you write in writing class. That's something you might say in a speech. This is the speech class. Today, I will inform you of, I will talk to you about, and then you tell what it is that you're going to tell us there. Then you need your transition. And the transition will be a statement like, so let's begin by looking at the causes of Alzheimer's. Okay, so here we have the attention getter, credibility material, thesis statement, preview statement, and transition. Then you go into the body. You have 3 main points that you have to develop. If you are the non-honors section, you're going to be writing one paragraph, for each main point. One paragraph for each point. So you're going to have your body, main point 1, and you're going to have a paragraph minimum that will explain what your main point 1 is, or talk about your main point 1, however it is that you're going to develop your main point 1. If you are the honors section, you must have 2 paragraphs for each point. You must have, if you're enrolled in the honors section, you must have 2 paragraphs per point. Okay, don't forget that. Non-honors section, 1 paragraph per point explaining each point. Honors classes, 2 paragraphs per point explaining your information. Then before you go to the next point, we need a transition again. Next, I will discuss, and you talk about it. You give your next point that you're going to talk about, same thing, 1 paragraph, non-honors, 2 paragraphs, honors. Main point 3, before you get to it, you said, finally, I will discuss. Main point 3, you put it there, 1 paragraph, non-honors, 2 paragraphs, honors. Then you give your conclusion. And finally, you do your works consulted sheet here. Okay, works consulted sheet, which is, I'm not saying sheet, forgive me, please. I mean the bibliography of your sources, works consulted. Now this goes on a separate sheet. That's why sheet is in my head there. This doesn't go at the very bottom of what you're doing there. So this goes on a sheet by itself. Your references, make sure they're always on a separate sheet. Okay, so that will help you as you're organizing your speech. You can find this design inside your course resources. Now that we have seen that, let me show you. Let's see if I can find it on here. The speech. Once you complete the speech, here's what it will look like. You'll have a cover page that has whatever your topic is. This is an actual student's paper that I just pulled up. And this student is talking about JIA, juvenile arthritis, and by their name, have the date there. They have the information for the course. Then the student has the topic. Remember I told you about that all that's going to be labeled. So unlike a normal paper that you would write, unlike the essay where you don't write topic and specific purpose and things, we don't see all of that because we're doing the outline speech and outline and the written paper together combined as a single document. You are outlining everything. So you have topic, you're putting it, specific purpose, putting it to inform the class about JIA. Thesis, here is a single statement thesis. Introduction, now you notice the word introduction by itself again. And the attention getter, the student has, imagine waking up and not being able to open your hands, going to your parents for help because you are in excruciating pain, but no one knows what's going on with you. And you blame it on video games called the Wiki or the Wi-Fi, or the Wii, or whatever it has here, the Wii. What will you do? Okay, so when my sister was 10, she was diagnosed with JIA and goes on from there. Now look how this person has the credibility material. According to epidemiologic studies, approximately 294,000 American children are affected by JIA. So this person went to their references, found some information, and put it there. So you're going to probably be beginning with something like according to, and then you give that information. Now look at the thesis, how it's different from the top up there. Today I will inform you of juvenile idiopathic arthritis. And here again, remember that thesis? Different from this one. This is announcing it. Preview statement provides a preview of what you can find in the piece. First, I will discuss the victims of this disease, then the causes and effects, and finally, the treatments of JIA. Okay, remember what I told you? 3 things will be included in this. Then the transition. Let's begin by looking at the victims of JIA. Then the word body is placed there. Just like you wrote the word introduction, you'll write the word body, because an informative speech consists of 3 parts, just like the essay: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. The introduction, the body, and the conclusion. All right. Now let's begin by looking at the victims of JIA. She did body, main point 1. She wrote up information, indented, had a second paragraph of information. Remember, if you're in the honors section, you have to have those 2 paragraphs. Once she finished, she wrote the transition. Next, I will discuss the causes and effects of JIA. So here she has a paragraph, then indented, wrote another paragraph, then the transition. Finally, I will discuss the treatments for JIA. Paragraph, paragraph, then the word conclusion. No transitional word before the word conclusion because it's included in the paragraph itself for the conclusion. So in brief summary, she said, or you could say to conclude, or all in all, or in conclusion, and then you give the conclusion. Then on a separate sheet, she wrote her works consulted bibliography. All right, got that? All right. Yes, 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 yes. All right, so again, I'm going to scroll very slowly for you to look at this, because you might want to freeze your screen and focus on it. I'm going to stop here for a moment for you to view that a little more closely. But guess what? I'm going to stop it here. Guess what? This document is also in your course resources. So you can pull it up in your course resources as well. So here I'm going to pause a little bit. Pause a little bit. Pause a little bit. And pause a little bit. All right, so now we know what the informative speech looks like. So we've covered what the informative speech is. We've talked about the topic. We've talked about the scratch outline. We've looked at the course outline design that you can use to help you as a guide. And then we've looked at the whole document, what that document will look like. The next thing that I want to do is I'm going to show you that at the end of this lesson, you're going to have a quiz. All right. Oh, no, I'm not going to show you the quiz yet, but I want you to know that you're going to have a quiz at the end of this lesson. So continue looking and listening as we go to the next component. So the next component that I'm going to discuss is preparing for the midterm exam. All right, so let me share this screen. We're going to go back to the notes that we have already looked at and let you know that we have already covered this. So if you've not been in the class sessions, you need to go back to your course recordings, because all of our lessons for the semester are in Teams, your Microsoft Teams. Go to Microsoft Teams and view the lessons. They are dated, and some of them are dated, and they have little keywords to help you identify what the lessons are about. So go there, look at these lessons and see what we have that we've already talked about here. We have full class discussions. So I'm just going to scroll through. This is information that you will see on the midterm exam. One thing I want to clarify though, when we were discussing the other day, and I kept pulling things from the midterm to show you, this particular one here, I forgot to tell you, I think I may or may not have, but in case I didn't, I had glossophobia is a technique of speaking that appeals to an audience who have a fear of change, and I just let it stay there. And so I'm not sure whether I said that's true or that's false or whatever, but that is a false statement, okay? I did not complete this first part up here. And so that's what made me think that, oh, maybe you didn't tell them the correct answer to that. So glossophobia, remember, according to your text, is the fear of public speaking. That is the fear of public speaking, but this is what you're going to see on the midterm exam. It's going to be written like this, that it is a technique of speaking that appeals to an audience who have a fear of change, and that's wrong, okay? So when you get to that question, make sure you put false for that on the midterm exam. All right, then we had the anxiety and all of this information here as well that we covered in our lessons prior. And in our lessons prior, we're actually on the pages a longer time than this, so you can stop and see whatever it is that you need to see. We talked about critical thinking and all of that. We did some information from 3, and all of these bits and pieces, all of this, these are questions that you might have on the midterm exam. They're not written exactly like this. These are kind of more or less the answers to the questions. And so by looking at this items, you can go to your study guide and find the answers. Now, where is your study guide? You have a study guide in your course wiki. So go to your left side toolbar, go down to wiki, W-I-K-I, click on it. Then you'll go into, you'll see midterm exam study guide or study guide for midterm exam or something. Click that. That has every question that is going to be on your midterm exam inside your wiki. So all you need to do is then answer the questions. And then when you do your midterm exam, you have your study guide with all the answers on it, your midterm exam, and you are bound to make an A on that exam. All right, so again, your study guide is inside Wiki. Go to your course Wiki. Look through the vocabularies, go down to near the bottom of all of the vocabulary, you'll find midterm exam study guide. And that's what you want to do. All right, so we have some study items from each chapter, 1 through 6 in here that I have placed in this piece here that we've already covered in class. These are study notes. And if you end up freezing your screen, you'll be able to see. All right, so now you want to use this to help you with finding the answers, but you also definitely want to go to your book, chapters 1 through 6, to find the answers for your questions on the study guide. And then I'm going to provide you one more thing. I am going to give you some actual answers to some of the questions on the study guide and on the midterm exam. So here, the process of the sender putting his or her thoughts and feelings into words or other symbols is called encoding, okay? Encode is the correct answer. Which of the following is not included as a characteristic of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? That would be self-gratification. That is your answer right there, self-gratification. When we use the term blank, we mean looking at the audience first by its demographic characteristics and by their internal psychological traits, that is audience analysis. A statement that summarizes in a single declarative sentence the main proposition, assumption, or argument that you want to express in your speech. This is thesis sentence. So you need to look at here a sentence that tells the main proposition assumption or argument that you want to express in your thesis. This statement that summarizes in a sentence lets you know that it's thesis sentence instead of central idea. Okay, so it's thesis sentence is your answer for this one. Then we have successful public speaking is more likely due to intuition and natural ability than planning and forethought. That is absolutely false. You don't have to be born with it. You don't have to have natural ability for it. You can learn how to become a great speaker. And then glossophobia is a technique of speaking that appeals to an audience who have a fear of change. That is false, as I emphasized earlier in our discussion. So those are some things that you can use. Gonna hold it here for a minute so you can see it. All right, these are going to be some of the items that you can look at and help you with your study guide. Now I'm going to go down a little bit, pause it a moment so you can get the remainder of those. All right, make sure you include those into your notes. And as you're viewing the video, you know you can pause and look at this information as well. All right, I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover with you. We covered the speech outline design. We looked at the sample informative speech. I gave you some gratuity questions for the midterm. We have the little spotlight for what the speech, what we're going to be talking about today. We looked at the informative speech and its topics. We looked at the notes, previous notes for the informative speech, and we looked at the sample scratch outline design. So there is only one last thing to do. What is that one last thing to do? All right, I'm going to share with you right now. That is the quiz. So the quiz, let's see if we can find out where it might be. All right, where do I have that quiz? Aha, I think it's right here. This is the quiz that you're going to complete and place into the Dropbox for today. So now I'm going to put it here so you can see it. It says, after viewing the tutorial video, you should answer the following questions and submit the assignment into the Dropbox labeled Tutorial Lesson Informative Speech. Because this is an in-class assignment, the assignment should be submitted today, okay? But I'm going to give you the entire day to do it, even though it's an in-class assignment. You don't have to have it by the end of the class hour. It would be good if you do that, because watching the video, then just do it immediately after and drop it in there would be good. But you have the entire day to complete it by 11:59 p.m. Let's put it that way. So again, watch the video, which you've already watched because we're at the very end of it now, and answer these questions, and then put your answers into the Dropbox. All right, here, I'm going to even help you a little bit. According to the information I provided in this tutorial, what is the next chapter I want you to read in the open source text? I want you to read chapter 12, the informative speech, right? And what learning module is the informative speech first detailed? 10, right? Okay. How many points are you required to research, write, discuss with the informative speech project? Answer, 3 main points. What is the minimum number of sources you're required to use in writing the informative speech? Answer, 2. You must have 2. According to the lecture and definition in your text, what is the definition of the informative speech? I'm going to give you that one to go back to your text and find. Aha, I thought I was going to give you that, huh? From observation of your tentative assignments and due date sheet, what does the next assignment do? You have to find that as well. So the last 2, you have to find out on your own by looking at your tentative assignments and due dates. You'll see what is due in your next class meeting. All right, let's go back here again. I'm going to pause this. So what you will need to do is you're going to have to write these questions just like I have them here. And then you're going to put your answer on it. Again, write the questions, type up the questions just like I have them here. Then put your answers on them. If you have a scanner, you can print it yourself, write your answer, and then scan it and put it in the Dropbox. You can do it that way. But you cannot just put 10, yes, no, 4, 2, such. You can't just put that on a sheet. Please listen to me carefully. You have to, on your assignment sheet, you're going to do this very duplication of this sheet. You'll put tutorial quiz on top. Name, you'll give your name. Date, give your date. You can write this if you'd like or not, doesn't matter. But you'll write these questions just as they are written here. Now, I've already given you the answer for most of them, so the least you can do is write the questions. Then you'll put your answer. Number 2, write the question, put the answer. Number 3, write the question, put the answer. Number 4, number 5, number 6. Okay, I had a wonderful, wonderful session with you today. And I'm going to put these questions here and freeze it again for you there. This gives you time to freeze your camera, to look at the questions, to record them, and on your sheet, and be ready to submit them to me. I'll go up here and freeze this here as well. What I might do, so you can see everything at the same time, let's just kind of pull some of the items up. That way you can see all of the questions and the instructions on how to do them. Right? Oh. Yes. Did I give us all of them? And the instructions? Let's see. Now you can see everything at one time. All right, let's freeze it there. Thank you so much for joining my session today. I enjoyed talking to you. I hope you got a lot of information about the informative speech, a lot of information that you can use to help you study for the midterm exam. And this tutorial is going to be placed in Teams. It may also be placed in the tutorial for your course. Sometimes I have a difficult time getting it in the tutorial for the course in E360. But look there anyway. I'm going to try to see if I can get it placed there as well. But it will definitely be placed in Teams. Okay, go to your Microsoft Teams and you'll be able to find it. And if I'm able to load it also into your E360 tutorial, which will be as soon as you go to your learning modules, you'll see class tutorials or tutorial lessons or however it is I have it labeled. I may have it there as well. So again, thank you very much for joining this session and have a wonderful, wonderful week.